So this is Dylan Bryan. I'm Taralyn Farrell with Caldwell Banker Advantage.
And we got Goose back
And
here
Goose,
as well. You want to say
he's
hey,
hiding.
Goose?
Come here, buddy.
You want to say hey, buddy? Oh, look at him.
He's happy for the ride. He likes being in the car. So, Dylan, tell me about your first time home buying. Well, you haven't purchased
home
yet.
looking experience.
Home search.
My first time home search experience.
Yes.
It's
How's
been
it going?
Interesting to say the least. It's been probably almost a year now of me looking, sometimes more serious than others.
Okay, you go in and out.
Yeah,
Do you get frustrated?
kinda, oh yeah. You lose faith a little bit, but
Aw, lose momentum.
exactly. But he comes back around every once in a while. It'll come back around, but it's been good overall. It's been a learning experience, obviously.
Well, you started in Wilmington too, right?
Correct. Yes.
So,
There's been a couple different location changes. We've
so maybe it's good you didn't.
Yeah, exactly.
Purchase, right,
yeah,
the first
always,
one.
always. It always seems you're bummed out at first, right, when you don't get it. But then once you look at everything after the fact, it's almost a good thing in some ways. In other ways, you can always pull positives out of it.
Yes.
But there's always some things you're like, man, good thing I'm not stuck with that right now. So.
Right, that's true. What did you start with in Wilmington?
So I was looking to purchase a house with a buddy of mine that we would both live in for a period of time, fix up, and then hopefully one day rent it out.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah. So somewhat of an investment, somewhat of a just kind of wanted to live at the beach for a little while. But that did not pan out, and so
And that was during COVID too, or
that was
pre-COVID?
I guess that was like right in the thick of it, really.
Okay.
I guess we were just getting into it at that point. That was probably around this time last year.
And both of you were remote workers,
Correct.
so you could do that.
Yes,
right?
so that changed everything a little bit, and it continues to change in the fact that the locations that you're looking at don't necessarily have to be right next to your office or where you got to be, as long as you're, within striking distance of it. It seems like that's the way everything's going now.
Right, so you can go, you feel like you have to stay in state, but
yeah, I would stay in state.
But you could really live anywhere at this point.
Yeah, exactly, and I sort of am, as you just picked me up from not my house. But
you're a floater.
Exactly, I'm a floater. Everyone's
American
probably tired.
nomad.
Exactly,
Yeah,
everyone's tired of me now. But actually, I'm going to bum it in Denver for a couple of weeks as well.
No way.
Yeah. So
that's nice. And just work out there?
Yeah.
Are you house sitting, dog sitting there?
No, no. This one's leisure. This one's no work. This one's all leisure.
Okay. So you'll take your home search. So your home search is pretty casual.
Yeah, it's definitely picked up in the last, I would say, like 4 months or so. I've been checking out probably 2, 3, 4 properties a week.
Okay.
With little to no success, obviously, but we're trying.
Right. You tell me about your offers. Are there 10 or 12? Or?
Over the last year, I'd say definitely 6. I couldn't give you an exact number, honestly, but put in at least 6 offers.
Okay.
Yeah. And some of them were more serious than others, so to speak.
I mean, start out low in the beginning.
I think when I started this process, I had this picture in my head that I was going to show up and lowball someone and get this great deal on a house and ride off into the sunset. But I think given all the circumstances, that is not in the cards for me. So the rationale has definitely changed a little bit in that aspect. But
you're learning there's a little competition.
Yeah, more than a little competition, especially in the price range that I'm looking at, which is basically that 200 to 400 range. Okay. Which is just about where everybody wants to be. Right. So that has posed its own challenges, but still looking. Still looking.
And then are you going in strong with due diligence?
Yeah, so the first time I made an offer, which was in Wilmington, I think we put down $1,000 or $2,000 due diligence. The house was listed for $305, and I think we came in at $315.
Okay.
And got blown out of the water.
You did? Yeah. And that was last March or so, too?
Yes. Yep.
So that was even before it really exploded.
So that was sort of my first taste of it.
Right.
And then as we got to the summertime, which is when it really got, as you could probably talk about more, it really got competitive. I mean, things were on the market for 12 hours, 6 hours and going. Yeah. And some of the ones that I've put in bids on and then tracked after the fact that I didn't get has been interesting to see what they did go for, what were the contingencies on their offers that worked, sort of learning as I go.
Right.
which has helped, but obviously not enough to land one yet. But fortunately, I'm in a position where I don't have a family or anything, so I'm not like, I don't need a home. It's more of whatever fits me, which is a good place to be, but also not, because then it doesn't put as much pressure on me to win one, more as one that just whatever falls in my lap, so to speak. So that's been tough, but it's been fun, I guess, sometimes.
And now you're also thinking about doing, it's kind of a pseudo investment plus your personal home.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. So something that we've looked at, and so when I first started, to go along with my big cushy dream of lowballing and getting some great deal was, a house zone, like not a townhome, a regular house, yard, the whole thing. But I've quickly realized that that's probably not as realistic as I thought at first.
More like 500 plus,
right?
Where you're looking,
exactly.
Right?
In the areas that I'm looking would be, out of the price range. 1 and 2, they're just like totally overpriced. Like there'll be a house. There was one last week. I want to say it was in Leesville, like just south of Leesville, so like closer to North Hills, Leesville area up there. And I went to check it out. I didn't end up putting a bid in, but I think it was 1,900 square feet. It was really well done. They did everything they could to the house. It looked beautiful.
So fully renovated.
Oh yeah, they had.
But older home, because there was an older there.
Sort of. I mean, they had redone everything. I mean, it was so nice. They had built in the closets. They had, you name it. Nice. All tile bathrooms, the whole shower, whole nine. Really nice master, everything like that. But it was either the one next door or same street. Sold for $100,000 less at the beginning of the year, and it was in similar condition. Not quite as nice, right? But not $100,000 nicer.
So you're like way overpriced.
Yeah, exactly. So I've run into some of that, and it's.
Are you willing to pay overpriced right now?
If it was worth it, if it was something that I was like, that's it, like I feel like this is the one, then it would be something that I'd definitely go over for, and I have gone over in bids in the past, but I've been outbid.
How about with the appraisal though? So if it appraises, how are you taking that? Like say if your appraisal comes in 20 grand under, can you bring money to the table? I can, but it's something that would definitely, you definitely sit back for a second and say like, all right, is this really worth it? Am I just jumping at this because I want this and I've been chomping at the bit, or is it something that is actually worth it? Because it's a pretty fine line right now of what is probably worth it, and then no one knows. Like, is everything gonna keep going up? Right. Is it gonna level off? I mean, you can assume it's gonna keep going up and all that, so you're willing to overpay now to then hopefully have if you're, because it's a kind of a long term, right? Even if your first one's gonna be your primary home, and then you're going to keep hoping to keep it as an investment. Yep.
So that's like sort of my criteria, is somewhere that I'd want to live for a couple years, and then when the time is right, move out, keep the property, and then use it as an investment property to rent out. Right. So it's a pretty specific criteria, but which is why we've been looking for so long.
Well, because it's also you want to be comfortable living there for a year too. Right. You want to live,
which is an issue that I ran into recently. So there was a new construction townhome complex 3 miles from downtown Raleigh. So it was in a really awesome area. Right. But a interesting situation occurred in which I drive an electric car.
Okay.
So
a Tesla, right?
Yes, a Tesla. So there was no charging station in the townhomes, and there was no garages.
Oh boy.
So
so this is a new world problem.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like such a jackass saying that out loud, but it's I need my car charger. Exactly. So with my nose up in the air, but
so
exactly. And but I do give credit to KB Homes, who is the builder. They had Duke Energy out to see if they could put in some charging stations for me. Yeah,
they did that for you.
Yeah, so they had them on site, and to see what it would take, they were willing to dig up some sidewalks to make it work. And so I do give KB Homes a ton of credit for trying to make it work, but they would have had to put in another transformer, which is big bucks.
For Dylan.
Yeah, exactly. Dylan's transformer. I could have put some Christmas lights on it, so decorated it too.
That would have been awesome.
They didn't want to spend that, I don't think, for a $260,000 townhouse. We're not talking multi-million-dollar homes here, so I don't think KB Homes was chomping at the bit.
Right, not a custom builder.
Yeah, exactly.
But
so
the fact that they went through and did all that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and I think part of it was for them to learn as well, because I think that it sort of took them by surprise. They were like, oh man, I didn't see that coming.
Right. Well, they start planning these things so many years in advance. And then...
And the woman who I was working with at KB Homes said that in the future plans, they have already amended future plans to incorporate some charging stations. So I told her that if I drive into a KB Homes place and there's a charging station, I want it to be called the Dillon Rule.
Okay.
So
the Dillon what?
The Dillon Rule. I want that to be named after me, because they were like, we learned a lot about after you asked your question. So we'll see what happens in the future. But it was definitely an interesting process, and I think that everyone, they didn't know how to answer it first. When I was like, hey, how the heck do I charge my car? They're like, excuse me, you know. But for the non-garage townhomes, that'll probably be something that they do moving forward. But I guess we'll see. But
or even in any community, it'd be nice to have add those.
Right, exactly. And it definitely wasn't like the major deterrent. Like I probably could have figured it out, right? And then the area it's definitely not the greatest area in town. But so I wasn't super stoked about the thought of living there for 2-3 years or whatever the requirements were to execute my first time home buyer stuff and use all that. So that was also a little bit of a deterrent. So overall, I wouldn't say it's a no totally, you know, but for right now, I'm holding off just because I want to see how the community builds out. It would have been one of the first ones. It's a total of 180 units will be when it's all said and done. And I would have been, I think, number like 15. And I mean, there's nothing built.
Was
so,
it
like,
a lottery too?
Oh yeah.
Lottery.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
So
you're dealing with the lotteries.
Yep. So when I was driving around, you're basically just like, man, that picture of that townhouse looks nice. But
no
you don't,
idea
so
what it's gonna look like.
In a couple years, maybe it's something, or even down the line as they start to throw them up, maybe it's something that I'll explore again. But for right now, holding off. What
did you think of new construction versus like a resale house?
I really liked it, but they did not allow any customization for this particular
they
community.
Pick everything. They pick colors. They pick everything.
Yep. So, but I will give them credit. It looked awesome.
They did a good job.
Yeah, it came out similar to what I would have chosen, and there was different options you could pick. So it's not like everyone looks the exact same. There were some that was, you know, a darker granite, some with the quartz, some with the quartzite, some, and they looked really nice. I'll give them credit there. They did make it look really nice. But
and the price point was, did you go through the price point where you, because everything's already priced. It's not like you're adding things, because you can't.
Exactly. So I was going to purchase an end unit of the townhouse. They had locked me in for that. Which end unit was a question, but an end unit was locked in, and I think the list price was $274 before. So that's why the investment side of it looked pretty good, because everything in that area, that close to downtown Raleigh.
3 miles in, short Uber.
Yeah, I think it was 8 minutes to the bars. Not that that's a huge concern, but definitely something to think about where you want to go and stuff like that. So it was in an awesome spot, a decent price point, all brand new, 2-year warranty. So it takes some of the questions out of it for a little while. But it just wasn't the right one at the right time. So we'll keep looking.
So, and do you feel like the market will make you give up, or you're still willing to keep going?
I don't think it'll make me give up. It just
versus like renting.
Right. And that's something that's definitely crept into the picture as this search has gone on longer. Is like, all right, do I start to rent in an area that I would like, and then, you know, explore that.
See if you like it.
Yep.
Right. And but you're thinking about doing that?
Yeah. So that has definitely crept in, and I think I don't have like a hard, fast date that it's like, if I don't get something by then, I'm going to start to rent. But I would say like February. So
that's not that
about
far.
Christmas time.
Right.
So we're kind of getting a crunch time.
Well, sometimes there's not as many buyers over the holidays.
And that's sort of why I said like February, mid-February, end of February is sort of like my deadline. It's like at that point I'll
because then all the buyers are going to be out again.
Right, exactly.
In February.
So I'm hoping that the holidays scare some people off, but then in the same side, there's not as many buyers, but probably not as many sellers too. People typically don't want to sell their house around Christmas time. So
yeah, the inventory's been not good.
Yeah, and we're in a really unique situation for like, as a 24-year-old dude, I don't know how much I really know, but everything I've read and everyone I've talked to, we're in a pretty unique situation. The fact that interest rates are so low.
Right.
The supply chain issues from COVID are pretty much done now, solved now, in terms of like the lumber and the building. Right. But then now we have a chip shortage, so then the appliances, stuff like that are affected.
HVAC.
Yep. And then I've got a couple buddies that work construction and project management for residential and commercial. And something I've heard a couple times is like appliances and cabinets have been tough to get because they can't find people to build and deliver them. So like a labor shortage as well. So I think all these things like added on top of each other.
Snowball.
Right.
Yes.
And then so the prices went up real quick, and then I think everyone sort of realized like, holy cow, people are willing to pay this. So
and then they stay. They're stuck.
And then it's stuck. So that's sort of where we're at now, which has been a interesting way to go about it, but hey, we're learning.
That's right. It is a learning experience for sure. Well, I'm glad you're not going to give up.
Yeah, exactly.
That's good.
Can't give up.
Yeah, I wish I bought a house at 24.
Well, I don't think my birthday's in March, so I don't think I'm going to buy a house by the time I'm 24 either. But
maybe.
We're hoping.
But still, it's still a good age.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
And to start building your portfolio.